Ryan, thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Nets postgame show with Frank Isola. I'm Nancy Newman. Game 2 without Kevin Durant goes down in the loss column. A disappointing outcome for sure. 112-102 the final count. The Thunder got hot late, and the Nets just couldn't get the stops they needed.
Yeah, Nets haven't lost consecutive games for a long time, and these two had a lot in common. In the game, going into the fourth quarter against Boston, they trailed by 2. Tonight, they were up by 5, but defensively, the Nets really let down. They gave up 24 points in less than 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. Josh Giddey was knocking down three-pointers. The Nets did not do a good job defending the three-point line. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander took over. So, yes, offensively, they struggled, but tonight, especially in that fourth quarter, it was more about defense. They gave up 37 points in the fourth.
And we're going to key in on Kyrie Irving, and with defenses locked in on him, we're definitely seeing the effects.
Well, you know, to me, he's missing makeable shots. That's a tough one right there that he converted. He's being challenged at the rim. But, you know, teams know you got to try to stop Kyrie Irving, because without Kevin Durant, a lot of it's going to come on him now on the offensive end. But other guys have to get involved. That's a great pass from Kyrie right there. But it's difficult for him. He's missed a lot of shots the last 2 games, and I think he knows the longer Kevin Durant is out, the bigger struggle it'll be if they're not getting anything out of Joe Harris, if Ben Simmons, if and when he comes back and plays, if they don't get any offense out of him. T.J. Warren had some good moments. Seth Curry tonight had some good moments. But you need that scoring, because defenses know teams are going to go into the game. Just like everyone game plans to defend Kevin Durant. Now that Kevin Durant's not there, all the game plans will center around stopping Kyrie Irving.
You know, 15 points for Kyrie Irving. Obviously, it's not all his fault, but it's going to be difficult for the Nets to win when he's not hitting. Yeah,
and I think that's why a night like tonight against a team, and remember, we said this on the pregame show, Oklahoma City put up 150 points against Boston. Now, that was a home game. They did put up 133 just this past week in Philadelphia on the road. So this is a team that can score. The fact that the Nets had held them to 75 after 3 quarters was actually pretty good. But, you know, Oklahoma City got it going, and the Nets just didn't have a counter, just like the other night against Boston. And Kyrie Irving, again, against Boston was getting good shots. But, you know, Boston is able to help and switch because all their defenders are versatile. They're long. Kyrie Irving, every time he looks up, he's got somebody tall staring in his face. It's so important. And the Nets, remember, they had a 10-point lead in this game. It was a really quick turnaround. Jacque Vaughn's going to be really disappointed at the start of the fourth quarter because Kyrie has to rest at some point. And when Kyrie was on the bench, that's when OKC started making that comeback.
Like you said, we did see some positives, right? We also see that Kyrie Irving made a conscious effort to get all of his teammates involved. And since KD has gone down, Seth Curry has definitely stepped up.
Yeah, Seth Curry has been good. There's no question about it. And you need him more than ever. And that was the one thing about bringing T.J. Warren in. T.J. Warren is a guy that could score. This is a guy that scored over 50 points in a game for Indiana when the NBA went to the bubble a couple of years ago. So he is a scorer. I think Jacque Vaughn is trying to figure out where that's going to come from. But I think his biggest focus tonight, I think he's going to talk a lot about defense and especially defending the three-point line. Give Oklahoma City a lot of credit. They knocked down those shots. Josh Giddey, Lou Dort was a thorn in their side all day long. You know, the Canadian that we thought was going to really kill them was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he did, but it was Lou Dort who also did a lot of damage.
Speaking of SGA, he helps his team improve to 10-5 over their last 15. They've really been playing well.
You know, it's funny. He's got a little bit of Luka in him from this standpoint. It never really looks like he's going that quickly. He kind of makes the game come to the pace that he wants to play at. He's so good with the ball in his hands. He's become a much better shooter. You look at him finishing around the rim. That was a terrific trade that Sam Presti made a couple of years ago. This guy is an absolute star. And he's so, look at that, with the stop and the little step back to knock down the shot. I thought he was terrific all night long. And it never seemed like at any moment he was forcing anything. He seemed to spend the entire game at the free throw line. That's going to be something that the Brooklyn Nets aren't going to be happy about.
So 20-plus points in consecutive road games. The longest active streaks in the NBA. There you see SGA with 13.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why they're 21-23. This is a team that going into the season, everyone thought, well, they're obviously going to tank because Sam Presti wants Yuta Watanabe. That still is the case. They would love to get, and they have enough draft picks, but who knows, maybe they can move up in the draft lottery. But the one thing about this organization, and they've been like this for a long time when they went from Seattle to OKC under Sam Presti, you know, they do have a culture there. You know, they expect players to do things the right way, and they've done a great job developing players. You look at the last 10 to 15 years of this organization, they They always develop young players. There are names out there. You could see the fans looking through, the scorebook, trying to figure out who some of these guys are. Isaiah Joe. They have 2 Jalen Williams on the team.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to contribute. Yes, the 2 stars are SGA and also Josh Giddey, but they have other players on this team.
No doubt, real good young core. Okay, let's again talk about Kyrie Irving and knowing how teams are going to play him over these last couple of games, right?
Yeah.
What can he do? What is your biggest takeaway from watching him?
I thought Kyrie, if you look, after what happened in the first half, we thought he'd be a lot more energetic, a lot more looking for his shot in the third quarter, and that's exactly what happened. Kyrie Irving is a smart basketball player. He can assess the situation. He knows when his team needs him to score, and I think Kyrie was also thinking, it's really tough for me. I can't carry the team for 48 minutes. Other guys are going to have to do something, and I thought in the first half he was doing other things, especially on the defensive end, but in that third quarter, Kyrie Irving is a big part of the reason they went ahead by 10 points. But we've talked about this before. Last season, when Kevin Durant would come out of the game and Kyrie Irving wasn't there, you're thinking, where's it going to come from the Brooklyn Nets? How are they going to score? Can they get stops? Tonight, they struggled to score with Kyrie out of the game, and they could not get stops. It happened way too quickly for OKC to get back in this game. And I think that's going to be the biggest disappointment for Jacque Vaughn. The last 2 games had a similar theme. 2 different teams. One is a championship contender. One could end up, as a 10 or a 9 seed, maybe in the play-in tournament. But both teams in the fourth quarter took it to the Brooklyn Nets, and the Nets did not have an answer. We knew it would be difficult without Kevin Durant, and it's going to be difficult. And now Tuesday night will be a big challenge against the San Antonio Spurs because every team is going to defend the Nets and Kyrie Irving the same way. Now it's about getting wins. You don't want to fall into that same trap you fell into last season when in those 21 games without Kevin Durant, you went 5-16, you lost 11. You went from being a first-place team, you were fighting, and remember, they had to be in the play-in tournament where they beat Cleveland to move on to play Boston in the first round.
And no Ben Simmons as well. We have to mention that. Yep. So all of that considered, what is your key to the game?
Well, I thought it was the defense on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think having Ben Simmons out there would have been a big key because that's a guy that can defend. He's a very versatile player. Doesn't give you scoring. That's something that he's going to have to do. But, you look at the numbers there, and especially the free throws, 20 of 26 for OKC.
Coming up on the postgame, we'll hear from head coach Jacque Vaughn on tonight's loss. We'll take a look at other action from around the association, and we've got plenty of player reaction as well. Stay with us. We're just getting started.
The Nets postgame show on Yes is brought to you in part by the New York Lottery. Get out there and play.
Taking a look at the Eastern Conference standings, with their loss tonight, the Nets fall to 4 games behind the Celtics for the top spot in the East. Frank, they still have that second spot, but just barely.
Yeah, and the first time that they've lost consecutive games since November 13th and 15th. So 2 months ago was the last time the Nets lost consecutive games. That was when they played the Lakers. Then a couple of nights later, they ended up losing to Sacramento. And, of course, you've got to try to find a way just to get one win because now things will get difficult. Now you're going on the road, and I get it. Some of those teams that you're playing are dealing with their own issues. San Antonio is one of the worst teams in the league, but they've also had some pretty good wins this year, and you're playing an undermanned Nets team because you know you're not going to have Kevin Durant. You don't know if you're going to have Ben Simmons, and now you're relying on Kyrie Irving to kind of keep this going. He has to kind of snap out of the funk that he's in and try to figure out a way to provide some scoring for the Brooklyn Nets.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Let's dig into the highlights now. And we pick it up in the first quarter. Josh Giddey, another fine game for him with the ball driving to the net, banking at home. He had 28 points on the evening and some SGA now.
And also, think about Josh Giddey. He also had 9 rebounds and 9 assists. But here's the guy that killed him all night long. And he's so comfortable, so calm, so patient out there.
He had 28 points as well. Almost a minute to go in the quarter. Morris over to Seth Curry. Big game off the bench. Nets down 1. Seconds left. Lindy Waters, the feed to Isaiah Joe. The 3 from the corner. Thunder lead it 28-24 after the first. On we go to the second quarter.
And there's Seth Curry with a long three-pointer. Seth Curry in this game, 3 of 8 on threes, 9 of 15 off the bench, 23 points for him.
Huge. Midway through the quarter, Williams, Dort for 3. Thunder retake the lead. 16 lead changes in this one. Later, Joe Harris driving to the net. He gets blocked. Thunder the steal. OKC in transition. Dort, SGA, and a deuce.
Yeah, so the Nets run Lou Dort off the three-point line. He ends up setting up SGA. Lou Dort, by the way, 5 of 7 on three-pointers in this game.
Wow. This was some kind of play. Hold on, here comes Patty Mills off the steal. But it's the trailer. Nick Claxton, the putback.
Yeah, that might have been the only bad play that SGA made all night, running into Kyrie. Good defense by Kyrie Irving.
This is the third quarter. Claxton laying it home. Nets up 6. Still in control later. Irving bounce pass. Utah Watanabe. Look out, everybody.
And OKC has been one of the highest scoring teams in the NBA in the third quarter. The Nets outscored them 30-27, and they had a 10-point lead in the third.
Like you said, Frank, Nets on a roll. Watanabe, T.J. Warren. What an effective player he has been. Nets up 73-66. Could they maintain? Seth Curry driving hard.
So you didn't think Steph Curry had that in this game. We know that his brother has it, but Seth Curry has it as well.
In the fourth, Thunder up 1. Dort, step back 3. Thunder back up top, 96-92. They did not let go. Moments later, Baisley to Joe. Thunder up 7 and in control. SGA with the ball.
Look at that little crossover right there.
Pretty fadeaway.
That's a beautiful move by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Timeout there, Brooklyn Nets. Jacques Vaughn knew his team was just about fried at that point.
112-102 the final, the game summary. The Nets led 80-75 after that third quarter, but they were outscored 37-22 in that fourth. Obviously, that was the difference. Tonight's game summary brought to you by Infinity. Much more to come. We're getting started here on the Nets postgame show. When we return, we'll tee up Coach Vaughn. Welcome back to the Nets postgame show. A disappointing 112-102 loss to OKC. Nets just 12 of 41 from 3, but it was on defense in the fourth that things got away from Brooklyn. Here's Coach Vaughn.
Jacques, you mentioned to me during pregame doing those little things right, particularly there in the fourth quarter. What did you see as the biggest difference this game?
Yeah, I think what you talked about as a group is the fouling component. And so lately we've been pretty good of not fouling. We knew coming into a game, SGA is a guy who shoots double digits in free throws and ends up shooting 14, I think, tonight. 2 free throws for them in the first half and not in the second half. 20-something free throws, 24 in the second half. And so big difference in the game. So that's discipline, our ability to know personnel and our ability to execute.
Was there anything particular with the game plan that you saw that changed from the first half versus the second?
We go in with a 2-point lead. I just think, the second half, the intensity takes another level. Their guys made some plays, whether that is plays to get a 50-50 ball or a loose rebound or a tie-up for a jump ball. And then the fouling component is huge.
Coach, got 2 quick ones for you. First, with Ben being a late scratch, what happened with him?
Yeah, he went through warm-ups, felt some tightness, and so that was the report I had, and then he was a late scratch.
Is it just like precautionary, or you guys are concerned? Is there any concern there with him?
He'll be on the trip with us, so hopefully it's 1 game. I hope so, Christian.
Okay, and second, just obviously this is 2 now in a row without Kevin, and everybody's talking last season. You automatically think about what happened with him last year. Is there any, pressure when you look at last season and everything that unfolded while he was out to not have the same result?
No, I hope our group is in the now. And, some of these dudes weren't even here last year. And so we finished Miami game with the win without Kevin. We go into a Boston game where we did some good things for 3 quarters. And then again, tonight, halftime, this is a good team that's beat a lot of good teams. And fourth quarter, again, where we don't come up with enough scoring, I guess, to complement the stops. So I think that's the challenge for us as a group, to be able to sustain. And so that is harder. That is harder mentally and physically, because Kevin does save you at times and give you a bucket. And so now your defense is set. And so that's the challenge with this group, is they have to dig in and have a mental fortitude greater than before, because every possession does matter, and that's what we talked about yesterday. So that 50-50 ball, that loose ball, that foul for free throws, they do matter. First quarter, third quarter, and then obviously we're seeing it in the fourth quarter.
Because, Jacques, going off, do you see any parallels with the fourth quarter offensive struggles between this game and the Boston game?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, you know, looking back at the Boston game, we got good shots. And I think if that is the common message, I think we all look tonight and we got some good shots, whether there was open threes, whether there was offensive rebound. I think we got good looks. We just needed them to go.
And Seth, really, since that rally in Miami, seems like he's really stepped up since Kevin's gone down. What have you seen at him during this whole week, really?
Yeah, he's doing a little bit of everything. I think having him come off the bench to kind of steady that group, to play along with Kai, and just another playmaker, have the ball in his hands. So he garners a lot of attention because he can make shots. And so I think he's done a great job of having balance of playing with and without the ball.
Jock, is Ben going to have to get an MRI before you guys go to Texas?
Yeah, from what I told Nick, no scheduled MRI. That was the latest that I got from the guys. Okay, guys.
So that's the good news. No scheduled MRI for Ben Simmons. He is expected to go on the road trip, so that's at least hopeful news. But tonight, it's a second consecutive loss without KD.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Jock Vaughn was talking a lot about that fourth quarter. You think about the numbers. Oklahoma City goes 13 of 20 in the fourth quarter. 13 of 20. They're 5 of 8 on threes. Meanwhile, the Nets, 2 of 13 on threes in that fourth quarter. So second game in a row, you're right there. Well, the Nets were more than right there. They had a 5-point lead going into the fourth quarter, and that's when things fell apart. Against Boston, you kind of understand it in some ways because it's the Boston Celtics, a team that won the Eastern Conference last year. They have an MVP kind of player in Jason Tatum. They play great team defense. But tonight, it's a different story because you're going up against a young team, and I get it. Once again, they can score. But this needed to, at the very least, if you're going to lose, it had to be close toward the end. The Nets let it get away from them way too quickly and couldn't figure out a way to get a stop.
And 16 turnovers as well, 19 OKC points.
Yeah, and I think so. Jock Vaughn, that you focus on that, and obviously the 26 free throws that Oklahoma City took, 14 of which came from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So I think what Jock Vaughn is thinking, I got Kyrie Irving on my team who's more accomplished than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's taking knocks as well, but he's not getting rewarded for it. It seems like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting some touch fouls and spending all game at the free throw line. I think that's going to be, you know, Jock is smart. He said it in a way where it didn't come across like he was complaining, but clearly not happened with all the free throws that Oklahoma City took in the second half and all the free throws that SGA took in the second half.
Noticeable for sure. Nick Claxton, he came into tonight's game with a streak of 7 consecutive games of 3 blocks or more. And Frank, it didn't take him long to make it 8.
Yeah, he ended up with 4 tonight. He's been very good.
And to a double-double.
Yeah, he's been very good around the basket. He was a minus 16, though, in the game. So sometimes you have to take that into account in terms of the impact. But he's not the guy that's defending out on the perimeter. That's really where Oklahoma City got most of their play. I mean, they were 12 of 31 on three-pointers, Oklahoma City. But Nick Claxton continues to play well. To me, he plays with a lot of confidence. You would like to see him get a little bit better from the free throw line tonight. You know, he ends up going 3 for 6. He's gotten better at it at some point, but he's still, that's an area of improvement that you'd like to see between now and the end of the season.
So Claxton now 8 consecutive games with at least 3 blocks or more. That is the 3rd longest such streak in franchise history. Sean Bradley, as we've said, had 2 such streaks for the Nets during the 1995-96 season, but he did have that size advantage.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And again, I don't think it was more about Nick Claxton. I thought he did a pretty good job controlling the paint. It's more about what happened out on the perimeter. So, you know, Oklahoma City's knocking down shots. That opens the court up. The Nets seem to be scrambling all night long, which made it a lot harder for Nick Claxton.
Still much more to come here on the post-game show. When we return, we'll take you into the locker room. Post-game reaction from the Nets players. We welcome you back to the post-game show. Seth Curry, he didn't hit his first bucket until there was about a minute left in the first quarter, but he certainly made the most of the rest of his time, leading the Nets in scoring tonight, 23 points off the bench. We're going to take a closer look at Seth Curry.
Yeah, I thought Seth Curry was very good, especially in that first half when the Nets needed points, and we've seen this a bunch from him. What you love about Seth Curry is that his playing time seems to fluctuate a lot, but yet he's always ready to play. He always seems to contribute. his confidence is high where even if he's not shooting the ball well, he always thinks the next shot's going to go down. This was a beautiful move. But first of all, a little hesitation to get past Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then the nice move, a little panache at the basket. He's gotten better here, too, with pull-up jumpers. You love the way that he's played. You know, he was a throw-in theory, in the trade with Ben Simmons, but he's made such a huge contribution ever since that trade was made. We're almost coming up on the one-year anniversary, in fact, of that big-time trade.
And we see his numbers: 23 points, 9 of 15 shooting, 3 of 8 from 3, his 6th 20-plus point game this season. And he always brings the effort on both ends.
He really does. And, you know, what you like about Seth Curry as well, here's a guy that wasn't, you know, it's unlike his brother. He's not a lottery pick. He's not guaranteed anything. He fought his way into the league and then really became a solid, established NBA player. This is a guy that you know you can rely on every single game. And the shooting, if you can shoot, there's a spot for you in this league. What I like about Seth Curry, he's found a way to kind of add things to his game. And we saw that tonight with a little hesitation move he had to freeze Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Then he's scoring at the rim.
But in the end, it is a loss for the Nets, 112 to 102. We've been talking about this good young core on this OKC team. It's not just Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's also Josh Giddey. 28 points versus the Bulls' 25 tonight. Rather, the reverse.
Yeah, he looks like an actor out there. Josh Giddey has something in common with Kyrie Irving. Both were born in Australia. Oh. Josh Giddey, so talented for a young player. He's had games like this before, and you can tell, being in the youth system that he was in Australia, just knows how to play the game, can do everything. Here you see him knocking down the long three. The play before was a beautiful bounce pass. He can score inside. So talented. Look at the numbers he put up tonight. Also had 9 rebounds in this game. 1 rebound, 1 assist shy of a triple-double for Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey, one of 3 Thunder players with 20-plus points tonight, 28 this night, 25 the other night for him versus the Bulls. Dort, 22, matching his season high with 5 threes tonight. So very, very good night for them.
Yeah, and this is a team that has now won 5 of their last 6 games. The game that they lost, they actually had a 2-point lead in Miami with Kenrich Williams at the free throw line. He ends up missing both free throws. Jimmy Butler ends up getting the ball. A 3-point play gives Miami the win. So they've been on a really good roll. Again, this is a team that everyone said, it's Sam Presti. He's worried about lottery picks. He's good because they have a ton of picks over the next few years. But this team goes out, they play hard every night. So think about what they've done now to the Atlantic Division. They smoked Boston at home. They ended up smoking Philadelphia in Philadelphia. Right. And then they get a win tonight. Yes, the Brooklyn Nets do not have Kevin Durant. They have Ben Simmons, but Oklahoma City doesn't care. That's 3 wins against 3 Atlantic Division teams who will all be in the playoffs. 3 wins in 12 days by OKC.
Good stuff for Thunder fans. Back to the Nets side of things, and like Coach Vaughn said, they got good looks. The shots just weren't falling. Kyrie, 15 points tonight. Here's Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie, it seems like this game and the Boston game, it was, through 3 quarters you guys were right in, and in the 4th quarter, the offense just went a little flat. Just what do you think hurt you guys offensively in the 4th tonight?
Just defense, and I think it was the whole game, if you ask me, just them playing with an unbelievable rhythm and pace, and us just not being able to stay in front of the ball at times, and just a little 50-50 detail plays that I was talking about against Boston. I mean, you look at that game, there were so many controllable plays that could have gone to us. It's a heck of a effort that you put forth when you play defense for 22 seconds, 23 seconds, and they come in and get the rebound. It takes the air out of the building a little bit and out of our team. So if we can just control the things that are controllable out there, just our effort in doing the little things, I feel like we'll be in a better position. But till then, we'll be in games with teams into the 4th quarter and just depend on our offense to save us every time, which only works some games.
And we've talked to you about, the domino effect of when Kevin's out and how he kind of impacts everything. Just what changes for you guys when Ben's not out there like it was tonight?
I mean, when anybody's out on our team, the way we're structured, we're built to be a great multi-dimensional team, multiple options on positions. So when those 2 guys aren't in there, I mean, obviously other guys have to fill in, and we just have to find our rhythm defensively and make sure we know our rotations. So the little things matter in terms of us staying communicative and just not holding our heads after losses. It's no time to, start pointing fingers or listening to some external noise that has nothing to do with what we got going on. So just paying attention to what we can control.
Kyrie, kind of to that point, it's kind of easy to look at last year when Kevin goes down, you guys lose 11 in a row, and then look at how you guys started now. What can you take from the way things kind of fell off the wheels last season to kind of maybe ensure that it doesn't happen this time around?
Well, I'm consistently in the lineup. That helps. We also don't have halfway in or halfway in anybody in the locker room. And there's just a primary focus on the big picture here. These are warm-up games for the big performance that come in, late in April. So just got to enjoy them and smile at sometimes how you lose and just be able to pick yourself back up. I mean, I'm doing the best job I can. I wish I could make a few more shots within the minutes and be efficient. I know that'll come, and I'll continue to prepare the best way I know how and just continue to be a better example for the guys in the locker room.
Kyrie, when you guys were struggling about 6 weeks ago, you had that long homestand coming up, and you said this is going to go a long way towards defining our season. When you look at this road trip coming up, how important do you think it is in the context of the rest of the year, given who you're playing without?
All we can do is control it now, so just got to shake this one off and get ready for our road trip upcoming and take it one possession at a time, 1 minute at a time, and just invite the growth that can happen here. You know, guys can definitely fill in some shoes, play some different roles, and it gives us a chance to really grow as individuals. Some guys have been in this position, some guys have not. It was all glory last week when we were winning games after game, and then now we're answering questions about, potentially struggling. I don't think we're going to struggle without Kevin out. That's not my belief. I know guys in the locker room don't believe that, and this isn't last year at all. So the comparison just got to stop. I'll leave it up to you guys to do that, but for us, we don't have any comparisons in there to last year. We just want to control, our focus level and how we prepare out there.
That's a key answer for him. They went 5-16 without KD last year, but he says he's a full-time player now, and everybody does seem committed.
And that was an 11-game losing streak also that they had in there.
Right.
If you go back to the last 2 games that Kyrie Irving played with Kevin Durant, that was against New Orleans, it was against Miami. He went a combined 17 of 43, so it wasn't like he was shooting great before this. His last 2 games, he's 16 for 44. It's essentially the same. The difference, though, if you go to the New Orleans game, Kyrie Irving made some really timely baskets against New Orleans late in the game. He did the same thing to Miami. Really didn't have that opportunity the last 2 games. So his shooting slump has really now been going on for about 4 games. And I think Kyrie Irving knows, you can kind of hear it in his voice. He knows that he needs to do a little bit more. The offense for him will come. He's too talented of an offensive player. But really, yes, the last 2 games, defenses could load up against him. But really, the 2 games that he played previously, and those games were with Kevin Durant, he also was struggling shooting the ball.
That plays exactly to what Coach Vaughn said also, the fact that, that's when KD saves you, right?
Yeah. Well, it's also about having that extra player out there. So when Kevin Durant has the ball in his hands, they're going to run a second defender at him. Now you're breaking down your defense. Teams are scrambling all over. Other guys are getting open shots. The one thing about it, and we talked about this last Sunday, the 12-game winning streak that the Nets went on. There's a lot of factors to it. The growth of Nick Claxton, Ben Simmons playing better, Kyrie Irving being a full-time player and playing all the time, the commitment to defense. But everything starts with number 7. You're talking about one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. So when you have him healthy, and he always wants to be out there playing, it's by accident you're going to be a good team. Now that he's not there, and that'll be the challenge now for Jock Vaughn and this group, figuring out a way to get wins without Kevin Durant.
Coming up, final thoughts and a look ahead as the road does not get easier as they take to travel to the Nets for a 5-game trip. Welcome back once again to the Nets post-game show. Royce O'Neal came very close to notching his second triple-double of the season. He had 11 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists on the night. He spoke with the media after the game. Let's listen.
Royce, what did you see as the biggest difference that led to this one tonight?
I think just us, kind of letting up, especially on the glass, let them get, the hustle points and 50-50 balls. And we got to, get those, beat them to that. So, we learn on that and, next time.
What did you think and make of the looks that you guys got from behind the arc? Jock has talked to us about getting more threes from this group.
We got great looks. Myself, Joe, Seth, Patty, especially towards the end, Kai, they just didn't fall. We get a couple of those. And we either are right there tie ball game or have the lead. But I think just, adjusting to how we play, taking those shots when we're open.
And when you look at what you guys have done, we haven't experienced a back-to-back loss in a while. With this one, Chalk told us that it's all about being in the now. What's just the overall message as this team gets ready to go on the road?
I think just us focus on one game at a time. We know we got to play hard. We got to execute the game plan on both ends, especially defensively. And I think we just got to, do the little things that count, get these wins.
Reese, do you see any commonalities between the fourth quarter issues you guys have had the past 2 games?
What you mean?
Just the problems you guys had against Boston in the fourth quarter being similar to what you guys dealt with tonight.
I think just our defense can pick up a little bit, like getting those 50-50 balls. But, offensively, we were moving the ball, got great looks. So I think just learning from it and build on this.
Well, it's feel like a week ago we were asking what changed most without Kevin. What changed the most for you guys without Ben when he's not on the floor?
Just the way he plays, the pace he pushes the ball at, and the little things that he does. We miss that. So I think just everybody else, stepping up when we have to, and then us just being a team and playing together.
And so the Nets will now head out on a 5-game road trip. That starts Tuesday in San Antonio against the Spurs. Coverage on Yes will begin at 7:30. Tip-off just after 8 p.m. right here on Yes. It does not get easier. They're charged with snapping this little 2-game skid here. It's going to be a while without KD.
Yeah, next Sunday night they go to Golden State, which won't be easy. They do get Phoenix, which is not going to have Devin Booker, but then the following night you're on a back-to-back. You're going to get Utah. This will be a tough stretch for the Brooklyn Nets. You know what it all starts? Like you said, Tuesday. You got to get a win on Tuesday, which will set up the whole road trip because things are going to get much harder for the Brooklyn Nets as they move along here.
San Antonio, Phoenix, Utah, and Golden State on Sunday. And then they finish off that 5-game trip versus Philly.
That's a terrible
Isn't that
road trip.
weird?
Who came up with that?
That's all for the postgame show. Once again, the final score from Barclays. Thunder 112, Nets 102. Tuesday night's coverage begins at 7:30. For Frank Isola and all of us at Yes, we'll see you next time.